Electrocast.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
On this episode of Missing the Point, we recap the Milwaukee Bucks winning their first NBA championship since 1971. We'll talk about where Giannis ranks among the NBA's best players and what a championship means for his future. We'll also talk about Chris Paul and what's next in his future after he and the Phoenix Suns once again failed to get a ring. We'll also discuss Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics and the criticism Tatum has received this offseason, even after establishing himself as one of the top players in the league this past season. This is Missing the Point, episode 74, but it's all relative.
Hello and welcome to Missing the Point. I am your host, DK Sizzle, joined by what we affectionately call ourselves the basketball crew. I think this might be the first time that it's just been the three of us, because usually we have one of our resident hosts, Joe or Mike. But when we started this podcast, everyone had to be locked inside and didn't have any lives. And now we all have shit to do. So we're trying to make it work. I'm going to be a poor imitation of the Joe and Mike host extraordinaire. And I'm going to try and talk to these two basketball experts about what the hell just went down over the last few weeks. We talk all the time in our little Discord chat about this and that, but I don't think we've really had a chance to do a deep dive on the 6-game long finals that just occurred. I know for me personally, I was cheering for the Suns. They were a West team. You know, I don't like to see anybody coming out of the East win that isn't the Celtics. I wanted to see Chris Paul win a championship because that would have been a nice story. And you know, I didn't have that much of a horse in the race, but I would have liked to see the Suns win, especially because I was kind of cheering for the Nets and the Bucks knocked them out. So Ray, I'll start with you. Giannis is a champion now. Everybody's talking left, right, and center about how awesome it is that he's kind of built this team up from the ground up with guys that were selected 23rd and 35th and all these different low draft picks. Trust the process as long as it's not in Philadelphia. What do you think? I mean, other than the hilarious viral videos of him ordering 50 chicken McNuggets at the Chick-fil-A and basically just having the absolute time of his life, which is hard to hate, I have to say. What do you think? Where does Giannis rank for you now in today's current NBA? Is he a top 10 player? Is he a top 5 player? Is he a top 3 player? Where is he?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was already top 10. I mean, when you're a 5-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player, you're already top 10, right? I think we're just reaching to a point that he's going to become the face. He's not there yet because as long as LeBron's in the league, he's still going to be the face. But we're working towards a point that, David Stern wanted for the game, and that's to go global, right? So the last 3 MVPs have been Giannis or Jokic. So, whether it's Serbia and then I don't know if he's from Serbia. I'm maybe saying that wrong, but
he's from one of the Bias.
Yeah, one of the So
one of those Baltic countries.
Yeah, one of those areas, right? So that's where the game is going. The game is becoming more global, and yeah, he's definitely into the top 5 conversation. I was skeptic of him in his playoffs. I know you had your concerns about him as well.
I was wrong.
But yeah, I mean, we both were. A lot of people were wrong. I thought his inability to hit free throws would be the downfall. Turns out that he shut everyone up, myself included. That was just a masterful performance on the line. Forget about the rest of the stat line, but just from that alone, from the free throw line, it was phenomenal. So, to answer your question without going too far, because I've already been talking forever, he definitely has gotten into my top 5 for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Those free throws were absolutely abysmal. I really thought they were going to be his undoing, despite the crowd not really being able to count to 10 these days when they shout for him. But they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like, okay, guys, relax. You got to do Mississippi. But Bobby, what do you think? Where does he rank for you? Like, is he still in the same spot? Was he raised? Is he a top 5 player in the NBA for you, like he is for Ray?
Yeah, I mean, you got to raise him now. You think about the way the NBA is, and the NBA is the most reactionary league I've ever seen, where it's like, as soon as something happens, that person is all of a sudden to the top. Like Kawhi, LeBron, Embiid, all these guys have been said to be the top player in the NBA in the last 12 months. So going by that logic, to me, I think he is the guy right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just the way the NBA works, is like whatever happens right now, that's who the face of the league is. And I really do think Giannis and those free throws, man, that was the most unbelievable thing to me. Like, this dude, that's the crutch of his game, is those free throws. So that's what the goal was. Get Giannis to the free throw line. I think Paul said it before Games 5. He's like, we need to get Giannis to the free throw line. We need to get those rebounds off of his free throws. That was like his big thing that they needed to work on. Little did he know Giannis was going to come up and knock down, 16 of 18 from the line? That's unbelievable for Giannis. This dude's a 50% free throw shooter. This would be like Shaq coming up to the line in Game 6 of the finals and knocking down 95% of his free throws.
I think Shaq's career free throw shooting might actually be a little higher.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just mind boggling what he did. Like, to step up like that, drop 50. The way he dropped it is just unbelievable to me. He's the guy right now. Let's
talk about that. Let's talk about that 50-point Game 6 performance, actually, because it feels like we're all kind of champing at the bit to get to that, because I think the way I was looking at the Bucks run, and I still kind of am looking at it this way, and like I'm going to take this contrarian point a little bit later to like argue through it just for content purposes, but also I do kind of believe it. That Game 6 really was like undeniable, and I think that like, Ray said it almost immediately, like when he hit like 41 or something, Ray was like, this is an all-timer. And, he gets to 50. And you sort of it's sort of diminished in my head. Tell me if you guys agree with this, but it's sort of diminished in my head by the fact that like everybody seems to be dropping 40, 50, 60 points these days in today's NBA, but it's a win, it's a win and you win the championship. It's championship on the line game. To drop 50 in the manner that he did, like you said, Bobby, and then to do it accompanied by his best free throw shooting performance of all time. I mean, he still has a garbage form. His free throws, it still does take forever, and it's annoying as shit when you're watching it.
Looks like Jermaine O'Neal up there.
Yeah, it's bad. But there's 16 of them went in, so like whatever. Just to continue with the theme of ranking stuff, like in the past few years, can you think of a better championship game from an individual player?
Only one, and they lost, and that's LeBron in the 2016 Game 1 of the Finals. He put that team on his back, and I've never seen a game like that, except for another LeBron game, but it doesn't matter. So it's yes, LeBron and Giannis to me are the top.
Are we saying that he's in the LeBron conversation now? I don't know.
That performance, though, so what amazed me the most is, like, you're right. People do drop 50 on the rag now. The thing is he did it in an old school way that you don't see it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I remember seeing him shoot a 3. And I was like, what are you doing, Giannis? Like, you got to get to the hole, man. Like, they can't stop you at the rim. And that to me was what was so amazing about it. Is what was he from 3? Like 2 of something? Like, he didn't have very many threes in that game.
He didn't take a lot of them, no.
Yeah, so like I just think it's unbelievable to me the way that he was able to drop 50, just dominating. Like, it almost reminded me of like Hakeem back in the day. That's what that game looked like. That's what he reminded me of, is Hakeem.
He was playing on the short. He was playing on the short post like that really well, and they really didn't have anyone that could guard him. And I think they realized that. Like, I think the Bucks realized that in like game 3.5.
After game 3,
halfway through game 3, they were like, "What are we doing?" Because the Bucks have been so dumb, coaching wise, right? Like, they've made some crazy choices during this run, and it's like they've gotten kind of lucky with some of the tactics they've employed. But finally, after everybody was begging them to just play simple, play the way that you know how to win, just put Giannis down low. There's no answer. There's no answer for him on the Suns. Ray, where does that performance rank for you, that Game 6 performance rank for you in your lifetime?
Right. So before I answer that, I want to add on to what you just said, right? So, like, you're absolutely right, DK. Like, he realized, they cannot fucking stop me from 10 feet in. Like, it's like, they can't stop me. So I'm like, why am I going to bail the defense out and shoot for 15, 18 feet, 20 feet, 25 feet? Like, save that shit for the All-Star game. save it for if you're doing like a horse competition in the offseason. That's fine. But when the games matter, make sure that you do what got you to the dance, and then so you're able to give your best when your best is needed. And that's what he did, right? So as far as performance, I mean, this is totally overreactionary, but I have to go as top 5. Like I said, in a closeout game, once again, we have seen other 40 and 50-point performances. Like we've seen it from Jordan, we've seen it from LeBron. Hell, Donovan Mitchell last year in the bubble had 57 in game 1. Like, that's insane. But 57 in the loss, right? But I mean, this is up there. I mean, for a game that you needed it. Now, granted, it was elimination for Phoenix. Like, granted, game 7 would have been, the end all be all for both teams. But in a closeout game, Chris Paul's talking trash about how, I think Bobby just alluded to this, but saying like, we anticipate a miss. He anticipates a miss. Well, he clearly heard you, and he clearly said, okay, enough's enough. We're not going back to Phoenix unless I'm going on vacation. And that's what he decided to do. But yeah, I got to go with top 5. It's definitely a top 5 all time. And especially for it's not a top 5 maybe performance in the playoffs, but for an actual closeout game, it's got to be top 5 like that. It was special from beginning to end. 33 in the second half, unreal.
Well, I mean, you think about it. So you think about the games that could compete with that, right? You think about Jordan in 93 against the Suns, where he dropped 55. You think about LeBron, like I said, 51, game 1 at 18. And then Giannis has to be right there. Like, I honestly can't think of very many performances that could top it. Maybe Curry a couple of times in like 2019. I think he had a couple good ones. But like, it really is one of those performances, like when you were watching it, that you knew it was a historic performance. Like you were watching history being made. And this is when everyone thinks of Giannis, this is the one you're going to think of.
Oh, for sure. And I definitely have to go into the rabbit hole. And I know we're probably only 10 minutes in. This where, since we are a New England podcast, I have to bring up the Celtics performance. None of us were around for it. So, maybe just Mike. No, I'm kidding. I know he's the oldest of the group, but
I think I'm the oldest. Right?
Oh yeah, you're right. You are. That's right. I just want to take a stab at Mike. Love you, big guy. But no. So Tom, our great Tommy Heinsohn, rest in peace. Tommy Heinsohn had 37 and 23 his rookie year, Game 7 in the Finals, 1957. With a team with Bill Russell, with a team with Cousy. It was Heinsohn who won the MVP of the Finals. He had 37 and 23. So that's a hell of a performance too in a closeout game with all the marbles on the line. So just to give the Celtic credit, I don't know.
I mean, I was actually going to do the exact same thing but that is a good one.
It's been 10 minutes. The Celtics have to be mentioned within.
Yeah, I mean, we're here now.
It's just a requirement.
Exactly. We're here now. I was going to do the exact same thing. I was going to shout out KG's performance in the go-home game 6 in 08. I think he had 14 rebounds, like 28 points or something, but he was like completely dominant in that game and like completely untouchable. We had a team forward approach in 08, obviously, and like everybody contributed in that game. Everybody had a good game. I was actually obviously very excited that night, and I was underage, but I was drinking. Oh dear. And I got really drunk and started yelling about how Kevin Garnett should have been the Finals MVP, and we just gave it to Paul Pierce out of like nostalgia, which I do actually sort of think is true because Kevin Garnett was like fucking unbelievable in that Lakers series, especially in that Game 6. He was like, 14 rebounds. I mean, that's really good, but 28 points or whatever it was. I don't know the exact numbers. I know he had 14 rebounds. Good on the stat line, but like on the eye test, if you watch that series back, like Kevin Garnett is like absolutely out of his fucking mind. And he's like ready to win us a championship. And like in that go home game, like he was done. He was like, well, this is it. We're doing it now.
That game was over. That game was over at halftime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we were.
As soon as he got the and one, it was over.
Didn't we score 140 in that game? It was like 140 to 90 something, right? 146 to 90.
No, 131-92. I'll never forget it.
131-92. He's right.
Yeah, never forget it.
Yeah, we dominated them. Like their 92 was like, I mean, we were jumping around celebrating at like the start of the fourth quarter. It was over. Like, because I was a little worried. Anyway, not to go down there. It was like, fuck Giannis, Kevin Garnett. Oh wait. No, but I mean, it was good. Let's talk for a second about the thing I alluded to briefly at the start of the show, which is Chris Paul. Was anybody else pulling for him in the same way I was?
Absolutely.
Do you think that you know the way like I think it must have been maybe it was game 4, it doesn't really matter, but LeBron showed up and he's like, I'm not here for anyone but Chris Paul. And it's like LeBron always does that corny shit where he's just like, this is my generation, like I'm here for this. It's like, dude, the guy has enough pressure on him. Like, please, for the love of God, like stop giving ESPN and like the sideline reporters more material to like pile fucking pressure on Chris Paul. when they go, he had a bad game and I saw some shit. I mean, it's all kind of blending into one because I was also traveling during this. It was all blending into like one game. But there was one interview they asked Devin Booker. He's like sitting next to Chris Paul and they're like, are you frustrated for Chris right now? It's like, what are you talking about? Like your quest to pull.
What a fucking question,
together.
man. Are you frustrated for Chris right now?
And it's like, honestly, from where we are and what we do, guys, like, and what we all went to college for and how we all met, I'm usually so on the side of the media. And like, I really do sometimes feel they get a bad rap because they're just trying to do their jobs. But fucking hell, like your quest for a narrative in this whole thing is so crazy and you got it so wrong. Like the narrative emerged so beautifully, like from a neutral point of view about Giannis, where he came from, interviews with him being like, I just want to be in the NBA, like all like, where his teammates got drafted and like the low draft picks and like, they built, not bought. And like Giannis is such a nice guy and he bought 50 chicken McNuggets and they missed that narrative by a mile. Now we do that shit all the time. Don't get me wrong, but they missed that narrative by a mile. And all I really felt for Chris Paul wasn't so much getting to his first finals and losing, but the manufactured pressure that this guy was under. And like he did battle back from a couple bad games to have like some decent performances, but he's a fucking point guard. Like, what did you want him to do? Like just take over the NBA finals? Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Ray?
Yeah, manufacturer pressure should probably be the title of this episode because that's exactly what it was, right? Like I said, I was rooting for him to get it, and I wrote to someone after the Western Conference Finals. I'm like, to me, it doesn't matter who they face. I felt like Phoenix was just going to steamroll whoever they played.
Yeah, they had a lot of momentum.
And after the first two games, it looked like it. And like I said, I'm not going to lie, I was riding high off that Game 6 performance he had. 41 points. I mean, he looked like the guy that I've been saying he is for a long time.
Sure. And he's staying healthy, which is like,
stay healthy. I was like, great. I'm like, he's in the finals. He's there, and then, games 3 and 4 really is where the series was lost. Like you can't have Devin Booker going for 40 in back-to-back games is phenomenal. But if he even just had 20, they probably win one of those games. And then we have a Game 7, then who knows what can happen, right? You play all year to have Game 7 on your floor, and they obviously didn't get to that opportunity. But, we talked about Doc Rivers on here, and obviously Chris Paul was a player for Doc Rivers, but, there's no player that's blown more 2-0 leads than Chris Paul. And this is his 4th or 5th one in his career, which lets he could be a front runner, clearly, but just doesn't know how to close. And, like that old school movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, always be closing. He does not close.
Put that coffee down, Chris.
Yes, dude. The reference of the night right there. That was a good one.
He does, but, he doesn't always close. And, that's the problem. So maybe his name should become Horseshoes as well. So I don't know. It was just rough to see. I felt bad to see, but at the same time, it's like, you got to figure out to get the job done, Chris. And unfortunately he didn't, but, he tried, but, he failed miserably, unfortunately.
Bobby, what are your thoughts on the Chris Paul situation?
That Game 4 was tough to watch him play, man. I don't know what happened to him where like you said, maybe it was the LeBron showing up. Maybe it was just that little added extra pressure.
A combination of things, though. Like, it was a lot of different things were happening.
He doesn't have that listen, so going into the series, you guys remember, we were talking about, is he the point guard? Can you compare him to Isaiah? No, you can't. Because Isaiah Thomas back in the day, like when he showed up for those games, like you knew he was going to do something because he's Isaiah Thomas, bro. He was one of the best players ever, especially in those moments that you needed him. Like he led those Piston teams to championships when it mattered. Chris Paul is never going to be that guy. You know what I mean? If you are relying on Chris Paul to get your points and win you the game, you're in a lot of trouble because that's just not who he is anymore. And that's not who he's been for a long time.
I would argue against that a little bit because I just think there's a little bit of unfairness involved in putting that pressure on him, like even retroactively, because this isn't even the best team Chris Paul's played on. You know what I mean? Like on paper, like that Houston team on paper to me was better offensively, at least.
Oh yeah. I mean, James Harden alone, right?
James Harden alone. Like what, you can't ask Devin Booker to be that at this point in his career. So when you look at like, it's just like, the style of point guard that Chris Paul has to be factored into this equation. Like he's not the guy to pull you out of a tailspin in a series, like the way that it went. Like everybody got so worked up about the Suns because of like the fun viral stuff that was going on with that guy like beating the shit out of somebody in the crowd and then being like Suns in 4, and then like he like didn't get brought up on assault because everybody was like, I don't know, it was kind of funny. But the other guy threw the first punch, so like whatever. But
he was a dirtbag.
Yeah, dude, that guy threw the first punch, missed horribly, and just got his ass kicked.
So, no, what made it okay to go down that rabbit hole real quick is if you notice, that guy in the Nuggets jersey tried to be like, oh, I'm not going to do
it was a sucker punch.
I'm just not going to. And it was like, dude, no, you can't. And no one's going to stick up for you if you do that. Ever.
Honestly, I'll say this as like a quick PSA. We used to do PSAs all the time in our radio days. As a quick PSA to everybody out there. We're all from New England. None of us are like exceptionally good at fighting, but we're all at least from the New England area. So I'm sure we've all had our knocks. In 2021, don't get into a fight because you might lose and someone's taping it. I guarantee you someone's taping it. If you hear that camera roll, you know what the sound of the camera roll is when a fight breaks off? World Star. And then you're fucked. If you lose, you're fucked. You're famous for getting your ass kicked. So, and definitely don't do it in an arena because those go viral even faster. So like Suns in 4 guy, yeah, you might be that guy, but like, don't fly too close to the sun on that one. Anyway,
you're not that guy, pal.
You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy, pal.
But I wanted to make a point before we move on because Bobby made a comparison, or we talked about the comparison on a previous show about Chris Paul and Isaiah Thomas. So, in fairness, yes. So obviously Isaiah Thomas ended up winning back-to-back, and they went to 3 straight finals in a row. Isaiah Thomas had his lumps too, man. Like they lost to Atlanta. Yeah, they lost to Atlanta a couple of times. They lost to Boston a couple of times. So, they had to fight through some series in order to get to there. And, Isaiah Thomas says it all the time. He said, Boston taught us how to win. He said they whipped our ass on several occasions. So he said, yeah, you damn right. It felt good in '88 for us to finally get by them and get to the NBA finals. And truth be told, if he doesn't get hurt in that game 6 against LA, they probably win 3 straight. But that's a whole another show for another day. But yeah, man, so that's the thing. So, but you're right, Bob. At the end of the day, him and the team around him found enough to get they found a way to get the job done. And, like I said, DK, you said it, you're absolutely right. It's not the best team he's had on paper. I just think, like I said, the situation was convenient and they were the best of what was left. And they found a way to get it done.
We're going to get into that for sure because I definitely want to make that point.
So that leads me to something else, though, and it's not where you want to go, DK, I promise. So is this their best chance? This was Paul's best chance to get a championship, right? They're not they're not going back, man, especially not with a team as constituted as it is. Because, listen, Ayton's great, but we saw his flaws when it came down to it in that game 6. He's not an offensive guy. You know what I mean? He doesn't have those elite offensive skills yet as a 5.
I don't even think it was that, though. I think it was a confidence thing, which is why, remember that video that went
Giannis
viral?
Dominated him, right? Giannis
right,
dominated.
But it was Monty Williams saying, yo, remember who you are type thing. And that's the problem. Like, if you have to continue, and granted, you obviously, as a coach, you're supposed to uplift players, but if you have to constantly do that in the NBA Finals game, it's one thing in game 54 of the regular season when it's like, okay, you're going through it back-to-back, you're tired, something's going on at home, okay. But in the NBA Finals, where it's like, and I get it, he was just number 1 pick a few years ago. So maybe in his mind, it's like, look, we got myself, we got Book, we got Mikal Bridges, we'll be back. That's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. No. So you have to learn how to seize the moment. Hopefully they learn from this. Like I said, Book is young enough. They're young enough to figure that part out. But as far as Chris Paul's best chance, like I said, we might get into this later on. I'm not so sure it was his best chance because of what he may do in the offseason. But we'll touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good segue to go into this. I will actually say one thing, I forgot to say it before. Isaiah Thomas didn't have a fucking 7-foot tall, lab-grown Greek fucking monster staring him down. I'm just saying, like, to defend Chris Paul slightly.
Just a guy named Larry Bird, No,
I'm sure. It's just that with Larry Bird,
an Indiana bred monster.
Yeah, no, totally. But the thing is with like a Larry Bird or you can. There's in your head, there's maybe not in practice, but in your head, there's solutions to him not beating you. Like if Giannis just goes to 10 foot out from the rim, he's going to beat you. There's nothing you can do. Anyway, it's just like unfair. It's like the way that basketball evolves. Like this shit happens all the time where you just get a guy come along. It's like, oh, he's just bigger and stronger than everybody. Like there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Before you move on from that too, the evolution of Giannis's game in the last 2 weeks what was something that, like, listen, coming into this, like, you didn't expect this kind of explosion from Giannis. Yes, he was amazing, but it almost seemed like he refined that offensive game in that last 2 weeks where, like, he wasn't taking those 18-foot jumpers anymore. He identified what it was going to make him and his team successful, and he stuck to it. And that, to me, is what really propelled them, because, like, the jump that his game took over the past few weeks was unbelievable. He went from an MVP guy that you couldn't rely on in the playoffs to someone that you couldn't stop. There was nothing that the Suns could have done in Game 6. Nothing.
You heard it here first. Breaking. The real BK, Bob Kelly of the Missing the Point podcast, accuses Giannis Antetokounmpo of performance-enhancing drugs. 2 weeks? Suspicious. Suspicious, says Bob Kelly. Suspicious.
Right.
At best.
Is that COVID vaccine, bro?
No, I mean, if that shit could make you run faster and jump higher, we wouldn't be at 50% vaccinated. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you what, though. I think we have actually gotten to the root of it, and I think it's a thought that was sort of germinating in my head. Germinating in my head over the past few days.
I kind of like
that
germinating.
Giannis, yeah, germinating. Germinating sounds like some German guy like attacked you.
Thought she meant permeate.
Sure, that too. One of the eights.
Synonyms.
It's a thought that has been kind of occurring to me, and I think we're kind of, digging down to the root of it, is that, like, Giannis and not the Suns won the mental battle. I think that Giannis went in like a finals MVP. He went in like a guy that was determined to win a championship. That we've seen before. That you see almost every year. Somebody decides, I'm not losing. LeBron James has done it a number of times. He tried to do it against the Suns with KD, but it was just like not possible. I've seen the Steph Currys of the world do it. I've seen the Kevin Garnett's of the world do it. It's like, it's what your mentality is when you walk in. And I really do think you kind of could, if you, maybe not at the time, but in retrospect, hindsight, you can see that Chris Paul was like, fuck, like, I finally made it to an NBA finals. Like, this is a lot of pressure. And then there was like a stinker of a performance. And then, like, that's just going to get in your head. And like, it's not that he's a mental midget, but you have to be a mental giant to do what Giannis sort of did. Like, yes, he's equipped with all the tools. Yes, he has all the athletic ability in the world, but like, we've seen that not be put together a billion times. And, he went in with the right attitude, and you absolutely have to respect him. However, leads me to my next point, and there's something I definitely want to talk about. And we just touched on. Are we giving credit to two teams that should not have made it to the NBA finals if it weren't for what some basketball experts like Mr. LeBron James himself has called out as kind of a shitty season, for the reason that a lot of people got injured because they came back earlier than they initially promised. Players weren't really ready. He said everybody was going to get injured around playoff time. And it's not a conversation about LeBron, but it did happen. So now that we have a bunch of injuries being a factor in this, does that take away from, let's start with the Suns. Does it take away from the Suns? Would the Suns have made it there? Would they have made it through, a fully AD healthy Los Angeles Lakers, for instance? And if they didn't, what does that look like for the Bucks? If AD is standing down there, is Giannis able to do the shit that he was able to do, or is he shooting 10 3-point shots because he doesn't know what else to do? Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, healthy AD changes it, and honestly, I'm trying to practice and not practicing in hypotheticals, because I know we say if this, if
this
that.
Is literally all we do, Ray. The show would be 2 minutes long.
I know, but it's just like I'm speaking to what actually happened. So I was like, yeah, okay, AD got hurt, okay, but I'm like, AD is not someone that's made it through seasons before. So to me, I'm like, that's not a thing. Kyrie Irving, as much as Kyrie or someone that's gotten hurt, we know as Celtics fans, he did not play in a season where they had a regular offseason. So shit happens, injuries happens. So it's just like, okay, like Phoenix was the number 2 seed. It was like they were the 8th seed and they made this run like the 99.
I kept having to remind myself of that. I was like, wait, why are they not in Milwaukee? Oh shit. Like Phoenix had a higher record. Like dumb, I know, like dumb brain, but
right, you know what I'm saying? So that's unless they go the baseball route, where it's like, which I think that would be pretty cool actually, where they go back to East or West and they say whoever wins that conference gets home court in the finals. I think that would be awesome. That would be a nice little wrinkle to it. But once again, that's a whole nother thing where Dave can create another game where we can banish things. That'd be awesome. So stay tuned for that. That's our creative guy in that regard. But yeah, I just think like we forget Phoenix was the number 2 seed. Like they should have beat LA. Once again, LA, they were injured before the playoffs had even started, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they had that big LeBron injury factors into what I'm saying, though. Like that lengthy injury.
Yeah, for sure. And then I was also the next round. Did they not face the MVP of the league? I know Murray was out, but they faced Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic was the MVP, and they had just beat Portland, right? So it's just like there were still players there. And I know Kawhi ended up getting hurt after a few games, but it's just like, to me, they outlasted everybody. But I mean, to me, it's just like, yeah, they got there. So I don't want to keep talking in circles. I just felt like they earned an opportunity. They got there, and I mean, I'm not gonna knock them for being healthier than everybody else to get in there.
I totally appreciate it. I appreciate what you're saying, because what you're saying is, the old adage, which I say all the time, I only really usually say when it's my teams, but you can only play what's put in front of you, right? You can only play what's put in front of you. And also, it's not as if, and I think this is one of your other points, it's not as if they didn't overcome adversity. It's not as if they didn't beat people that needed fucking beaten. You know what I mean? Like they didn't beat anybody that was like too fucking soft to not be a playoff team. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but let me see if Bobby has an alternate point, or if he agrees with you. Bobby, what do you think? Did injuries get these teams to the playoff? Did the Suns to the playoffs, or was it their sheer grit determination?
So I feel like they would have beaten Denver even if Murray was healthy.
Because you don't think Jokic is a real MVP either, do you? Because I really fucking don't. But anyway, go on.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay. I didn't know that. So now, but okay.
I'll just say one thing. I only don't think that he's the real MVP is because I don't think we all have completely agreed on what an MVP is. I don't think we've agreed. Is it the best player for a team? Is it the best player on a team? Or is it the best player in the league? And I think that that to me is what I think it should just be the best player in the league. If it were up to me, the MVP, the most valuable player, would be the most valuable player to the basketball, not to the team that they're on.
Too political. Because that's again, LeBron would get it every year.
I was just gonna say that. So, and I want to go the non-fun route. I want LeBron to have won most of the MVPs of the last 10 years because he fucking was. He just was. Like, it's fair.
I agree.
You can't show me a league where LeBron's not the most important player to his team.
KD deserved the MVP.
You know what I mean?
Though.
Like, KD too.
I think there was a Steph Curry year or two. I think that there was even this year. I was looking at Steph this year for MVP. I thought he was fucking playing out of his mind. And I think you should factor in. You should factor in context. You should factor in what they mean to the league overall. You should put like a Walter Payton Man of the Year factor in there. Like, what did they do for their fucking communities? Everything. Put everything in there.
Jaylen Brown, baby.
Exactly. Though it's like most important player. Yes, obviously we have to talk. We're talking out of the top 5 guys in the league talent wise. You can make that short list really easily, but then factor everything else in. Did they get their team to the playoffs? Like, what was their fucking record? Like, ask all the questions. Otherwise, to me, it's a phony award. Anyway, sorry for the small aside. But Bobby, please go ahead and tell me what got them here.
Listen, I'm always down for a basketball tangent. So I feel like this narrative of like the injuries would have been a bigger story if Giannis didn't do what he did. Giannis going off like he did in these NBA finals saved the NBA from that, like, injuries guided this playoffs, injuries to this, because listen, what it comes down to it is the best player, right? The best player was on the biggest stage and had the best game that we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years. And that is going to be what's going to drive this NBA playoffs into, like, getting away from that injury standpoint, because, like I've told you from the beginning, when you keep saying this, is like, I completely get where that's coming from, because when you look back at the season, if you told me at the beginning of the year the 2 teams that were going to be in the goddamn NBA finals were the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns, it would have been like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So yes, did the injuries lead to where we are? 100%. They would not have been there without the injuries. They also wouldn't have been there if Kevin Durant didn't have if Kevin Durant was a size 11 instead of 12. The Nets are in the finals. So, and Bud's not the head coach of the Bucks anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things that you could say, but Giannis saved that narrative by putting one of the most historic performances ever that we're going to remember for the next 50 years. So, yes and no. I know it's shitty to be that middle guy, but
no. I think you know what, I was prepared to go on this whole. Fuck, God damn it. I mean, leave it to you to do the weird kind of like, I smoke a lot of pot, like third party, like perspective on it. But like, I also did just smoke pot, like while we were recording the show, and I'm thinking like that now too. I think I was so ready to be like, whatever, dude, it doesn't count. Like fucking asterisk 2 years in a row. You've heard what I've been chirping on about on the fucking Discord. the Brooklyn Nets were the most talented team in the East. Like they just were on paper. The inch of Kevin Durant's foot, they were better in that series, in my opinion. They were the better team in that series. And it kind of came down to one like really dumb, tired Kevin Durant play. But now that you say that, when you say, it's like you're saying the ends justified the means. And it, as much as, there was injuries and that's disappointing. If I was to make the point that overall the product was lessened because of all the injuries and we didn't get to see the best players, which I did make that point repeatedly, where I was like, I just want to see the best players in the finals. Your rebuttal to that would be, well, we got a really fucking good finals and like a really cool game 6, like all-time game 6 performance. So like did the product get lowered or the team you want to win not win? And I feel like, that's probably the case. And that did strangely just change my mind a little bit, but
right. But I think what it is too, and this is none of us on this show, including our wonderful executive producers in this category, we are not casual fans, right? The casual fan was lost in this series, but those that love basketball, that are pure basketball fans, we were gonna watch this shit regardless. You know what I'm saying? So if you're speaking that the casual fan was lost, there's no argument there. Like the ratings and other stuff on Twitter and social media, like that speaks for
the markets. Right? Yeah, the markets. Phoenix is not a large market, neither is Milwaukee. So I get it because, like I said, Milwaukee's more worried about the Brewers at times, and they're more worried about the Packers, especially what's going on, with the Aaron Rodgers saga. So it's like I get it, but at the same time, like I said, Giannis is one of the biggest stars, if not going to become the biggest star. And Booker is coming. I'm glad that he mentioned that he wasn't Kobe, because those comparisons were crazy. Our guy in Boston is closer to him than he is, but like I said, we're not going to get into that right now. I just had to throw that in there. So for my homeboy Kim that's listening, sorry that one's for we're
you,
definitely going to get to that for
sure. For sure. Yeah, I forgot I saw that in there right now. But yeah, so that's the thing. So yeah, man, like I said, to me, the casual fan was lost, as I put that in air quotes. But like I said, the basketball purists that all of us are, like I said, we enjoyed it. Well, I'll speak for me. I enjoyed it as a basketball purist. I enjoyed the series, and I was happy to see that Giannis shine through instead of seeing games being like 79 to like 74. That would have pissed me off, but we weren't going to see that, not in today's NBA, anyways.
Breaking. You heard it here first. Rayshawn Buchanan of the Missing the Point podcast says, "Fuck casual fans. We don't need that."
Put that on a t-shirt. Put that on a t-shirt.
And twice on Sundays, he says. No, I mean, I agree to a certain extent. I think obviously I'm going to watch the NBA finals every year, like regardless of who's in it, and be a little sad that it's not the Celtics. And also at the same time this year, I wish I didn't do this now that talking to you guys about it in like a retrospective, but I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about the Bucks Nets series, because I was just I saw KD kind of elevate and Giannis diminish in that series. So it was hard for me to compute what was happening in real time as Giannis was like putting on this MVP performance, because it always had this like, why didn't you fucking guard KD in those first like 5 games though? Thing in my head for that whole thing. And I was so overblown excited in that Eastern Conference Finals and everything that went down. I was a little bit like, oh, fuck, like now we got to watch these 2 shitty small market teams. But you're right. Like in the Cinderella narrative of the whole thing, I think I should have been a little less bitter about it. And I'll take that advice under consideration moving forward in my sports watching career. All right, that's enough about the Bucks and the Suns and sad Chris Paul. He's still got millions of dollars doing fucking State Farm commercials. You can't feel too bad about him. Bobby has one caveat before we move on.
Yeah, no, one person that to go off here, who else stood out? There's one person that's going to come out of this as a completely different player than everyone views him right now, and that's Chris Middleton.
I knew you were going to say Chris Middleton. I still think he sucks.
I know, but the narrative around him is now different. First of all, he hit that clutch shot in that last couple minutes. That was a difficult shot, and he drained it. Plus, now he was the Robin on an NBA championship team. No matter what, forever. That's what he is. You know what I mean? That's what he was.
Totally. Do you agree, though, that 12 years ago, 12 years ago at this point, you could be making the exact same word for word, including the he hit that clutch shot sentence point about Derek Fisher, but we're still sitting here right now. Nobody gives a fuck about Derek Fisher, right? So I'm just saying.
He was never the Robin, though.
He was the second best. He was the second most important.
He wasn't the Robin.
That was Paul Gasol. No. He was just a real
player. I guess so. But I mean,
you remember Fisher because Fisher was there for all the runs.
Fisher hit so many big shots, dude. He hit so many big shots for them. Like, I'm just saying, Fine, not Robin, Batgirl. I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying, no one cares.
He was on the team. He was in the Avengers.
I know, yeah, definitely Pow for sure. And then like Shaq before that, like I get it. And Kobe was good at recognizing what he needed in his game, which was like a good big man to play off of. But I don't know. Chris Middleton, I'm still not fucking convinced, but sure.
I'm with you, DK. It ain't just you. Like
it's nice. I get it.
Yeah, it was cool. He stepped up when he needed to, but there was still so many moments where I didn't like that he would go for 40 and the next game be like 6 for 19. Like that can't like once again, that was one of us, one of our Celtics. We're killing him on the show the next day, and Craig is bleeping out everything we saying, and it's like, yo,
that's Marcus Smart. We're going fucking crazy.
Craig doesn't bleep out shit we say. If Craig bleeps us out,
that's true.
Thank God it's a podcast.
If I bleeped out what you guys said, it'd be half the show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We wouldn't have the show.
Right. No, excuse me. No, that's true though. But listen, if Chris Middleton became the player that he is against the Celtics, he'd be a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
Because he kills Boston. He absolutely kills Boston.
A lot of people kill Boston.
Remember that 3 he hit a couple years ago in the first? It was in the first round from like almost fucking half court. I was like, Jesus, like what is going on?
Maybe that's why I hate him.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, it all comes back to
it's deep. Yeah, go back to that series, right?
Was that the wait before that was the Terry Rozier where Rozier drained it in Bledsoe's face, right? And then Middleton hit it.
Made him dance.
Rozier? Who even is that? Who even is
right?
That?
Yeah, who was that guy?
Fuck is Eric Bledsoe?
It's like you know who he is now. And that's speaking of him. I know he had to be sick watching this finals.
I know
because I'm like to be on to play on both teams. He was close with Milwaukee a couple of years ago. The last time Phoenix was decent, he was in Phoenix when that team was. So I'm like, damn. What I
love about Bledsoe is that I made a very loud point to anyone that would listen when he was the best bench point guard in the NBA. He was like a really good 6-man on Phoenix. And like, it was like, he's got whoever he gets traded to, like he's the next thing. I was like, guys, I'm telling you, that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that in basketball. Like the best 6-man, the best like bench guy is that for a reason, especially a guy with Eric Bledsoe's like, talent level and like
Jamal
the things
Crawford,
that he can do.
Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no. Like the best thing, if I was his manager, I'd be like, Eric, the best thing for you is to just like stay exactly where the fuck you are and be like a high paid 6-man because like your career might take a shit. If not, and it happened. Yeah. And it happened.
Right.
But yeah, so finally moving on from the Bucks and the Suns, we're going to talk about the Boston Celtics because we've been kind of alluding to that and we all love talking about the Boston Celtics. Coming into this next season, we made some good moves that I think we've all sort of talked about. A good move for next season, like not this upcoming season, but the season after that, as far as like salary cap and stuff. But we're all going to sit around and watch like almost every single Celtics game. So let's talk about what this currently constituted Celtics team looks like. And more specifically, I'd like to discuss something I saw Ray talk about on Twitter today that I responded to. And that is Jayson Tatum and the level of criticism that he's enduring even in this offseason, which I'm relieved about because last offseason I was criticizing him a lot. And now I at least am smart enough to know to not fucking talk shit about Jayson Tatum anymore. But at least I admitted I was wrong. Can't believe because I'll go down. I swear to God, Ray has these Twitter conversations sometimes, and he's like a good quote tweeter. And I'll go down the rabbit hole of these fucking tweets. And he's like deep into NBA Twitter, but he's in like black NBA Twitter. Like I'm not allowed in there. So like I go start looking at these comments. And I'm like, what? This guy's commented Tatum. And like, I think the original guy today, whatever his name was like just trying to be controversial, which like, I can relate.
Oh my God.
But like,
that's great. Oh man. Wow.
But it's like, they don't let me in. I keep trying, but
you're fine. You can
I don't have the lingo. I don't know. Just kidding. So, but the funny thing about it is like, I can't believe after that post All-Star break performance, and I said this to you on Twitter, right? After that post All-Star break performance and that playoff performance when we were dead, like we had nobody. And he went off on the Brooklyn Nets, who I maintain are a great fucking basketball team. Injuries or no. When Kevin Durant's on your team, you're unbelievable. Kevin Durant even had to say some shit about Jayson Tatum. Like I remember him being reluctant to say that Jayson Tatum was good because everybody was comparing him to KD. And KD was like, I don't know, man, I'm like 6'11". You know what I mean? Like he was kind of like never ready to say it. Finally, he's like, nah, that dude's going to be really fucking good. Like that guy's going to win a championship. Like it's the case, right? So leave Jayson Tatum alone. Bobby, why won't people stop talking shit about Jayson Tatum? Like I learned my lesson and I'm a fucking big mouth. Bobby, tell me, like, where's this logic coming from? And who is the guy? Because you were the one, Tatum's the truth. So tell me about it.
Bro, you're preaching to the choir. I don't know. It's been like this for a long time. And I feel like it's because, first of all, a lot of it does come from that Boston narrative. It really does.
It's the Boston sports fans thing, isn't it?
He hasn't done it yet. Why hasn't he won us a championship yet? Like, if he's really the truth, then he would have brought us there already. And it's just like, dude, I can't stand it because people that like us, and after you saw in that second half of the season this year, when you know basketball, you know a killer when you see one. You know what I mean? They just have a different way they approach the game. They have a different way that they go at people. And when they take over a game, you can feel it. You know what I mean? Like when I was at that Spurs game, even in that first half, like me and my buddy were legit like, Tatum, tonight's on you, bro. Like you could feel it in the atmosphere that he was about to take this game over. And there's not many people that have
Let me ask
that
you a question
ability.
on that. Let me ask you a question on that front, though. I agree with you that he is like that guy. And I think Ray agrees too, based on like his vigorous nodding while you said that. But you podcast listeners can't see that. But I promise you he wasn't.
Amen.
And you can always tell when he disagrees with you. He doesn't have to say anything. You know you're about to get disagreed with. But that's probably true of all of us, actually. But
it's like what I was just talking about. It's a feeling. You just feel it.
But like, yes, that killer instinct thing, like I was reluctant to see it. For me, because there was a lot of inconsistency, and inconsistency in your star player kills you. Inconsistency in your star player fucking kills you. Like you need a guy that can turn that shit on at will, or you will not win a championship. That's just it. Giannis figured that shit out late this year, but he did it. He turned it on. He did it at will. Do you think, and my question to you is, do you think that it's Jayson Tatum's demeanor and his generally soft-spoken attitude towards interviews, his like all this stuff that causes us to think that he isn't Kobe Bryant level murderous? Or is that soft-spoken thing kind of insane? Because after he went off on Brooklyn, I saw his post-game interview and he was just like, hey, how you doing, everybody? I'm like, this guy's a fucking psycho. Holy shit. He just had the game of his life in the playoffs against like the most incredibly constituted super team ever. And he was just like, I'm just going to go home and like see my kid, maybe murder someone. I don't know.
Hey, where's my boy over here? Yay.
So what do you think it is? Why is it that you think that people are so reluctant to believe that Jayson Tatum's like that?
So you know what I feel like? So you just kind of brought my brain to my point. So that was great. Good job. So like, you know what? I feel like it's because of that softness before you saw that killer mentality at the end of the season. I wouldn't have blamed you for having that point of view. And I didn't blame you for having it when you did. It's just, if you can actually watch this guy play basketball in the last few months and say, you know, I feel like the Celtics would be better off without him. I don't think this guy's a legitimate.
You couldn't say that.
You're out of your fucking mind. You're literally out of your mind. So I haven't seen Ray's conversations on Black Twitter, as you said.
They're great. They're great unless you're Rachel Nichols. Then they're not so fucking great.
But if people are actually coming at you, Ray, about Jayson Tatum, then they don't belong anywhere near NBA Twitter. Right. Because I know you are, and you've been on my side since day one, but like this dude is a specimen. And when you have guys like KD, when you have guys like Allen Iverson, when you have the greats of the NBA going off about how special someone is, that's when you know you have something, because greatness recognizes greatness. And that's how it always is. When someone is great and they look at someone and they're like, that guy's the fucking truth, you better fucking listen to him.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what happens when you listen to certain, you know, media and radio hosts that, you know, just want guys to be super fiery. And we all know who we're talking about, but we want certain guys to come on the show, so I won't name names. But it's just like, yo, once again, Celtics fans, we are the most negative fan base in the NBA. It's unreal. It's unreal.
It's fun because not us though, right? Like I feel like we don't bring a lot of Celtics.
Oh, I'm totally negative, but like,
no, but you do like the Patriots, like Red Sox negativity, where I think you approach the Celtics in a similar way, where you go like, yeah, I mean, like this sucks, this needs to be better, like whatever. But there is a certain mentality on like Boston Celtics Twitter where I find myself, I think I'm one of the more contrarian people about how good our team is on this podcast. And I find myself reading some of their tweets and I'm like, guys, leave them alone. Jesus fucking Christ.
It's ridiculous. But just to harp on the Tatum point a little further, his rookie year to 2017, 2018, his killer instinct shouldn't have been questioned after that. We saw him as a rookie go into Milwaukee. I mean, they didn't win that game 4, but that game 4 when they was down and him and Jalen was taking, your turn, my turn, and then he did his 1-2 step back dribble and just nutted in Giannis' mouth. Sorry, I couldn't think of anything better to say but that. Like that's exactly what happened. Like we saw those moments. He yams on LeBron, and he got like, what are you talking about? Like just once again, there's at least 27 teams in the NBA that would kill to have Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown on the team. Like I said, well, I know we're just speaking about Tatum, but I'm like, we saw moments. The only season I feel like that was a wash to his career so far was the year that Kyrie and him left, right? So the 2018-2019 year, he was kind of lost in limbo that year. I feel like all year he had a good first round against Indiana, but he kind of it just wasn't there. But we saw it as a rookie. We even saw it last year after the All-Star break in 2020 once he became a first-time All-Star. The game against the Clippers, the game against Denver, the 36 in Portland. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this dude is he's straight cash when he's on. Like that, there's no, shout out to Randy Moss. He's straight cash, homie, when he's on. Like there's no debate with that. So I don't understand. But like I said, Twitter, Black Twitter, Asian Twitter, white Twitter, Hispanic Twitter is just, Celtics Twitter is just weird. Like
all Twitter.
Of all Twitter, green Twitter. Of all Twitter, green Twitter is the fucking weirdest one.
Exactly. Yeah. All the Twitter, like Celtics Twitter is the worst version of that Twitter. Yeah. Like it's a joke. It's ridiculous.
They're gonna come for us if they listen to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. We said this last show. Wait, we said this last show. Can we just put this? Rayshawn is black, everyone. All right, we're just
I'm like, hey guys, like, I'm like,
No.
I promise if you go onto the page, Craig does a great job of showing who's who on the show. I promise you. I got a white t-shirt on, but I am black. I promise. But my God.
I know it's 2021 and we're not supposed to say things like that, but I think they can tell from your voice. So moving on. And obviously,
oh my God.
They can tell that I am a small and very sexy Asian lady. So moving on. Riddle me this, Mr. Kelly. Riddle me this. Is the Tatum conundrum down to the fact that all of us secretly or subconsciously or both think that he's the reason that the team quit on Brad?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. So, wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too. I'm like, shit.
I think I was blaming him for it. Honestly.
But all right, so I think this goes back to like the type of demeanor he has. If he is, then that means he's doing it quietly behind closed doors, and that means we're in trouble. So if that's the case, I don't like that at all.
Or not. You don't want him to do weird ass LeBron fucking tweets, right? Where like cryptic LeBron, I hate J.R. Smith, but I don't want to admit it tweets, right? And you don't want him coming out and saying shit in the media like Kyrie was doing.
Man, I'd have been mad too, dog. I scored 51 points, and you sit there, you don't know what time. I'd have been hot too. I'm sorry. I'd have been hot. I'm sorry. I don't blame him.
But you also don't want him to be Kyrie Irving, just saying weird ass shit to the media every 2 weeks, every time we lose a game. But I was blaming him, I think.
I feel like it's okay, though, because if that's the case, the way that they handled it and the way it all went down, if that is what happened, that means it got handled correctly. That means he went to the proper channels he needed to, talk to the right people, and was like, listen, this is how I feel like we can win a championship. I feel like we can keep everything going the way it is. I like Brad's mind. I like the way he does things. However, I feel like we need a fresh face. I feel like we need someone in here who can really light a fire under our ass. So could it have been handled at the end of the season? Maybe. Or handled better at the end of the season? Maybe. But how it all went down and how everything happened, how we got our new head coach, how it's now like a player's coach, someone who's really going to drive these guys. If that is what happened, I kind of like him even better than. You know what I mean? I'm going to turn it and be like, listen, at the end of the day, it's like...
Did he improve the team then by doing that?
Right.
Did he improve the team by doing that? Because then it's a good thing,
we have a better chance moving forward to win a championship constituted with the coach we have, with Udoka, with Tatum and Brown being like the leaders of the team. I feel like we're in a better spot than we were. So
breaking. You heard it here first on the MTP podcast. Bob Kelly says Jayson Tatum is a snitching ass bitch, and he went to the principal about Brad Stevens. You heard it here first, bro. You heard it here first.
Fact, no, but I mean, I'm glad that Bobby went first to that. But no, I just think that there's another guy I want to bring up in the silent killer thing, right? So, we never had issue with Tim Duncan being super quiet, right?
No, but he's European.
Yeah, he's from the Virgin Islands. Okay, yeah, cool.
or whatever, not European, but like not
but no, I got you. No, I got you. Yeah, he's not from here.
He
I got
was
you.
looked at differently, and his game was like fundamental. He had a different rep. He had a different narrative,
Right, but I'm saying about the reason why I'm going to best player on the team. You had your guy David Robinson. He comes in there. It's just like from day one. It's just like just want to come in, do my job, and listen to what Coach Pop says. And that's the thing, right? Your best player has to be coachable, right? So now Tatum, it's on you, dog. Like you have asked, you and Jaylen Brown have asked for a coach that looks like you now have that, right? So now it's on you to say, okay, we're going to run through a wall for this coach, right?
Better now. This is your last chance before it is your fault. Yeah,
exactly, right? So that's the thing. So now, and like I said, like Bobby said, if he went through the proper channels and spoke to Wick and spoke to Mike Zarin and Austin Ainge and Danny saying like, yo, we need a new change, and that's perfect. And I do think Brad is already showing in that GM role that he's not going to have that horseshoes mentality. I feel like that's already happening. And the way he overachieved as a coach the first few years is I feel like he's going to overachieve as a GM in the first couple of years of him being a GM if he stays that long, right? I know anyone that we've had on the show doesn't think he's going to be in the GM role for that long. That's
That's because Mike started a rumor that he was fired, and now everybody thinks it. I don't know. I didn't know we had this reach. I didn't know we affect. I swear to God, the first person to say that was Mike, and now everybody thinks that.
But that's all that shit was like. But I mean, I know like Jose Pavone that we had on the show, that put that in the show notes. But like I know he talked about how Tatum may not be here, not Tatum, that Brad Stevens may not be in that role for long. Jeff Goodman, who we've not had on the show, if you want to come on, brother, come on to the show. But Jeff Goodman talked about it as well on his podcast with Bob Ryan. So yeah, like that to me is that. But like I said, he's done what he has to do. But yeah, but they better figure it out. But yeah, I do think, because to answer your original question about why do people get on him, yeah, it's because the quiet, laid back demeanor, and because this is such a raw, in your face type of city, type of sports town, especially from 2004 to now, especially, the fan bases were just spoiled. So now it's like, okay, you have to be a David Ortiz type, you have to be a Brad Marchand type. You have to be a Dustin Pedroia type. So that's the type of athletes we gravitate to. That's why we loved Isaiah Thomas as well, right? Not the one that played in Detroit, but the one that came here. Like, that team was feisty.
There is no NBA fan. There is no NBA fan that hasn't enjoyed Boston or not videos of Kobe Bryant being a dick in practice. No one hasn't enjoyed that. I loved every second of it.
Right, exactly. So that's exactly what we're looking for. But I have to, once again, we've been doing breaking news, right? Breaking news. You're not getting that, Celtics fans. You're not getting that from Tatum. That's not his demeanor.
Kevin Garnett, right? Because he was the ultimate fucking psychopath, like loud in your face, get that shit out of here kind of guy.
Everyone can be that, and people are mad that it's really Marcus Smart on his team that's like that. But because he hasn't won, like, granted, he's our Draymond Green, but because we haven't won, people are fed up with Marcus Smart, including us. That's what it really is. If we won, we wouldn't complain about what Marcus Smart does.
If we won, a lot of those shots might have gone in, though. You know what I mean?
That too, right? But I'm saying, like, I just feel like he is our Draymond Green, and Draymond Green has caused Golden State games, but we don't talk about it because they're 3-time champions. That's all it is. That's all it is.
It goes back to what you said with San Antonio or with Duncan. You're like, why wasn't Duncan talked about like this? Because Duncan won his championship after year 2. Let me tell you, if Jayson Tatum, or was it year 3? Was it 2? I think it was 2.
I mean, it was a guy named David Robinson there too. Just saying.
Yeah, so I'm just saying though, if Tatum comes in, so let's say different alternate universe, Tatum comes in at the end of the Paul Pierce era, right? And all of a sudden Tatum comes in and wins the championship as a rookie, then he takes over the team. It's a whole different conversation that we're having because this dude already has a ship. So it's that mentality that, like, listen, can this quiet guy bring us a championship? Is this the right guy to lead us? Because it hasn't worked yet. So Boston fans automatically go to, like, it's not ever going to work. It'll never work. Doomsday scenario. Blow it up. Let's go.
And just to bring the conversation full circle, now that we're about to hit a nice clean hour, if the question is, does your best player need to be, as Ray said, like the rah-rah guy, the in-your-face guy, the loud guy, to win a championship? Well, Giannis isn't that guy. Like, Giannis just went out there and, like, with his big smiley face and scored a shitload of points.
But they have one. in Bobby.
He's a competitor. I'm not saying he's not a competitor, Ray.
I'm not going to put Bobby Portis in.
He's a fucking psycho.
Ask Nikola Mirotic how he is as a leader. Ask Nikola Mirotic about Bobby Portis when he knocked his ass out. God, no, Giannis is definitely a competitor. But yeah,
definitely.
He's more like, hey, come on, guys, let's come on, let's play together as a team. And
that's what I mean, though.
Very, very Disney like approach. But when he dunks on you, that anger comes out, right? And we've only seen that anger come out of Tatum.
But we've seen Tatum do that. Yeah, we've seen Tatum do that.
You know, I mean, it's cool to show the emotion, right? Jaylen Brown is more of that guy. He's more comfortable going off.
Well, we were saying he was quiet, you know?
He's quiet, but he's definitely more outspoken than Tatum. That's not debatable at this moment.
But I wonder now that, like, I think it's finally just this past season really been decided. Like, I think there was always kind of a whose team is it? And I always do harken back to your point of, like, Ray, which is like, we don't have to pick, like, we have both guys. And like that did strike true with me when you said it, because I was doing that thing of like, fuck, like, who's the best guy? You know, like, who's the best guy? And it's like, it doesn't matter. We have both of them. I agree with you when you say that. But I wonder now that it's like, now we all fucking know whose team this is. 2 questions. To you, Ray, is Jaylen Brown going to be okay with that coming into next season? What do you think his attitude is with regards to stuff like that? Does that mean Jayson Tatum becomes more outspoken now that it's sort of been decided and he's earned that with his play?
I think Jaylen Brown will be fine with it because he's committed to winning, right? He's not committed to, you know, who's getting 40 and getting 50. Like, I remember there was a couple of times where Tatum had a few chances to get milestone nights, like during the season, and Jaylen Brown would give him the final assist to get 50 or the final assist to get 40. So they very much work hand in hand. And we got to remember, they came in back-to-back years as the number 3 pick. So they're essentially growing up together as a unit. So I think that they want to see each other succeed. And I think Jaylen Brown is the perfect complement to Tatum in that regard, to see him grow and say, like, look, hey man, you're the guy. And you know, it's like the best comparison I gave with those two. It's easy for Tatum to score 60. Jaylen Brown got to fight to get 40 or 50. That's the biggest difference between the two. It's not that they are not great players, because they both are. But if one thing becomes naturally easy to you, that's what ascends you above the rest of the team. And that's all it is. Like I said, once again, from a character standpoint, like there's nobody better than Jaylen Brown. He's a leader. He's class personified, so we can't say that. Now I went on that. So what was the second question again? So I want to make sure.
Now that he is kind of like the de facto decided upon leader of this team, will he now potentially become more outspoken, take a leadership role? And with a new coaching, and it is lovely that we have a fresh blood in the coaching, in the locker room with the coach, and kind of fresh blood even in the front office with Brad in a different role. And I think we all were kind of just saying, well, that we fucking need that shakeup. That needs to happen. Does this coach come in and say, all right, Jayson, you need to fucking, you need to be outspoken. You need to be this guy. And is he comfortable with that? And has he wanted that,
Yeah, I think he's maybe not saying that he has to be more outspoken. I think because Ime Udoka saw how Pop handled Tim Duncan, I think he's saying, like, look, it starts with you. Everyone else in San Antonio fell in line because Tim Duncan became coachable. Or not became, but he was coachable from day one, right? So if Tatum shows he's coachable, if Brown shows he's coachable, Marcus Smart, so on and so forth, like, if the guys that are on the hierarchy are showing that, okay, I'm coachable and I'm gonna run to the wall for the coach, then that trickles down to Romeo, it trickles down to Grant, it trickles down to Carson Edwards, it trickles down to everybody else on the team, because like, well shoot, if he's going off at Tatum and Tatum is taking it and, responding better, well, I'm not that guy on the team. I got to fall in line too. So that's what has to happen. So I think hopefully those are the type of conversations that are happening in Tokyo when they get there, saying like, hey, it starts now in July, it starts now in the Olympics. You're the guy. I want you to work on, like, I love the video I saw with him, right? He was working on him in the post. Please. Oh my God. Please bring that. Like, it was basketball porn. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm like, please. I'm like, even if it's just 3 or 4 times a game.
There's no reason.
Right, exactly. Even if it's just 3 or 4 times a game, please just get down there. Like, and there's like, once again, you're 6'9". You're not going to stop down there.
Whatever about the amount of times he does it in a game. When LeBron learned a post game after Dirk Nowitzki fucking took it to him in that final series, when he learned a post game, he can turn around to whoever's guarding him and punish him at will. He has the kind of body where he goes like, all right, like, it's just in my repertoire now. It's like, oh shit, like, yeah, I drove on you and you kind of got me that time. Like, why don't we go down low and see who the fucking man is here? And like, I think that to have that in your game, if you're above 6'7" at this point in the league and you have any kind of mass, you need to have some semblance of a post.
Yeah, and I say, and Tatum's he's in the weight room. He's got stronger every year.
I feel like he's going to be 9 feet tall by the end of his career. He gets bigger every year. Bobby, different question for you to round out this subject and then subsequently the episode. And thank you guys for being here. So lovely to see you again. But different question for you, Bobby. We are at a decided crossroads in the Celtics current build, in the Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown build, and Marcus Smart to a lesser extent, I guess. The What is to you the best case scenario over the next 5 years of how this team looks, who's on it, and what we win? And what is the worst case scenario over the next 2 years? Because I think that's when the worst case scenario is going to be evident. What are those things? And use your imagination. Explain to me what those two very stark situations look like, because I think both are equally possible at this point.
Okay. So best case scenario, short term, is next year Jayson Tatum averages 30 points again. And I think that's a very legitimate possibility that we see happen next year, where he elevates to that level where he's on the Harden, KD, LeBron level of scoring. And I think that that's something that, like, seeing the end of this season, seeing the way his game has developed, where he started attacking the rim, and if he actually adds in that post game, I feel like that's indisputable, that that's a very good possibility. Beyond that, I really like the guys I want to bring in here. We need a big man. So, like, Cat, to me, is the guy that I think you bring in Cat to this team, and I think it has it turns this team into as good as some of the best teams in the NBA. They're as good as the Bucks are. They're just as good as the Nets are. Having Jalen,
who do you move,
and Carlin, I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, we need some assets. I think we're going to see the Pritchard's this next upcoming year. So hopefully he
really shoehorned that one in there.
you like that one? You like that one? So I feel like we're gonna see that, and I feel like his asset level is gonna go up a lot. But best case scenario is obviously NBA championship within the next. I give him a window of, because we just started a new regime, 3 years. 3 years is the timetable to me. If you don't have a championship within 3 years right now, I feel like we're going to run into a situation where one of them's gone. And it's just the market we're in. It's where we live. It's who the city is. We're not going to be able to stand another 3 disappointing seasons in a row, especially with the changes that were made.
Oh, we'll burn the fucking garden down. Celtics Twitter will be fucking out there with torches.
Worst case scenario is we trade Jaylen Brown for some package of draft picks or some package of something that just is going to piss us off. And all of a sudden, Jayson Tatum leaves in free agency. We're left with fucking nothing. And everyone, yeah, that's worst case scenario, 100%. Is if both of them are gone in 5 years and we're left sitting here like, what the fuck just happened?
That to me, and I mean, obviously we want them to be here for their whole careers, but, you know, I think, you know, DK, we talked about this on Twitter earlier. Pierce didn't win to year 10. And once again, I know it was before the advent of social media. I get that, but you still had the Dan Shaughnessy's, the Bob Ryans, you know, you still had other people, you know, the Steve Bulpets, you know, like, so, you know, you still had guys that was talking about this team pretty heavily and going off of them in the newspaper, going off of them on Around the Horn. Like, they were still going off about this team when they didn't win, right? So they had one run where they made the conference finals. Then they lost in the first round the next year to New Jersey, lost in the first round to Indiana the following year. Then you lose 18 straight. Then, oh, thank God they get the number 5 pick. They trade that to Seattle and get Ray Allen, then they get Kevin Garnett. So it's like you need the right pieces to win the championship. And as I said, DK has belabored this point on a few episodes, but it's like, how long do we wait? But it's like, yo, if we waited 10 years to get Pierce that championship, what's another 3 or 4? Now I get it. And this era where you have to win immediately and just like you either win now or you suck type thing, which is a fucking joke. Once again, a lot of you franchises that either you listen to the show or you're a fan of another team, half of your team has never even touched the NBA finals or touched the conference finals. So sit down, be humble, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, like calm down. So I don't know. I'm conflicted because I want them to win obviously in the next 2 or 3 years, but I understand that it took Pierce to get 10, and it took 2 or 3 other guys, two or 3 other guys that were hungry, really 4 or 5, because they brought in some other veterans too that were ready to win at that time. So that's what has to happen as the best case scenario, in my opinion.
Yeah, and bro, so to preach off that point, you just preached a point I've been saying since day one with everyone that we've had this conversation with on this show is like winning a championship is hard, guys. It's not an easy thing to do. And
but I want one.
I know. I want one too. But like when you look at the great NBA players who never won a championship. You know, Charles Barkley. We have John Stockton, Karl Malone,
and they get beat with
James
that fucking
Harden.
stick every single time they say anything, dude. Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's just the reality of, like, the way it's the market we're in, and it stresses me out even just bringing it up, because it's like the way that we see a championship in Boston, it's just not a reality. You know what I mean? It's not an actual reality of how hard it is to actually win a goddamn championship.
I will make
the
this
Bucks for the Bucks to win a championship. Kevin Durant had to wear a shoe that was one size too big. You know what I mean? Like the smallest things that have to happen. Right. It's crazy how hard it is to win a championship. So, like, worst case scenario, yes, is us 3 years from now not having a championship and then blowing it up. But, like, I really just hope Jayson Tatum really loves this city, is really what it comes down to. And I hope he's here for a long time with or without that championship. But I just don't see that happening in today's NBA. If we don't have a championship within 3 to 5 years, yeah, he's gone. Well, 100%. If there's no championship by the time that contract runs out, he's out of here. So, yeah.
So, just one more point before DK closes this out. I know we keep talking about Bradley Beal. The guy, I love him too, but the guy that I think would actually want to come here and I think would actually dominate next to Tatum and Brown is Donovan Mitchell. I would give whatever they wanted for Donovan Mitchell if he wants to sign here. Like that dude is special. Like, to me, that's the guy I would put next, because him and Jaylen Brown are super tight. I think him and Tatum are cool too. Like, that to me, that three right there. You know, championship, anything's possible, ball game, all that shit. Like, I'd be saying it all on the t-shirt. Like, we'd be doing a podcast from the TD Garden. Craig, get mobile because we're going to the Garden, baby. Like, we don't need roads. Had to bring that back for a moment. But yeah, that's the guy. But Donovan Mitchell to me would be the perfect guy here next to those two. And you're looking at a couple of rings, if not more, with that trio. Easily.
Regardless of specifics, I just hope they do what I've been asking them to do since years before we even started.
And get a big man.
Well, it's not even get a big man. It's just that when you have two swingmen, and this is like basketball fucking 101, when you have two swingmen, like we have two wing players, I should say, like we have that play the way that they play, you don't want a ball handling guard. I know it worked with Isaiah Thomas originally because they were fucking rookies and sophomores respectively. And you could kind of do that and then just like kind of make them spot up shooters and like not put too much pressure on their minutes. But like the way that their games have developed, like, you can put fucking anybody at the one. Like, you guys are making the point about Marcus Smart running the one. Like, fuck it, doesn't matter. That's just a guy to bring the ball up the court. Like, we have two unbelievably talented wing players whose handles are getting better. If Tatum's handles go up in the way that I think that they're going to go up in this offseason, like, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, because I think his handles are actually better than people say. I just think he's freakishly fucking long. So sometimes it's like it takes a little bit to start getting a dribble going. But anyway, regardless, I agree. Donovan Mitchell, great. Bring him in. Bradley Beal, great. Bring him in. We need a third piece, but that's a conversation for another day. We have gone a little bit over, and I can see, nice little beads of sweat trickling down Craig's lovely, adorable face. So I will close it out with this one question and like no elaboration. I'm going to go to Ray first, then Bobby. I want to know what is on October 19th, I think is tip-off day. I don't know if we play that day, but October 19th is tip-off day in the regular season. What is our starting five for you to really see what we're made of as far as a fully healthy in this scenario basketball team? Ray, you can go first.
I'm going to go Smart, Brown, Tatum. I'm trying to think. I don't know who the four is going to be. I don't know who the four is going to be, but I got Robert Williams
Horford
as I thought. Oh yeah, but yeah, maybe Horford. I want him off the bench. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have them resigning Fournier. So Smart. Yeah, so Smart, Brown, Tatum, Fournier, and then Rob Williams, and then Horford be your sixth man.
All right, that doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence in our season. I'm just go ahead, Bobby.
All right, Marcus is the point guard. Fournier. I'm going to completely agree with that, except I'm going to sub in. I'm going to put Horford at the 4 starting, because I think Horford, just the way that he comes in and plays defense and controls the 4 as a big man, I think that's something we could really use, having someone at the top of the key like Horford with the passing ability he has, playing off Tatum, playing off Brown, and Pritchard's our 6th man. I'm all in for the Pritchard Sons this year. All right, it's happening.
That'd be great. I mean, he's a good shooter. Yeah. I'm going to say that crazy thing's going to happen. Brad Stevens is going to fuck up so bad as GM. He's going to get fired, but we're going to start to speculate that he might have naked pictures of Wick's wife or something. So they're going to move him to another position, and that position is going to be the 2 on the starting 5. And Brad Stevens is actually going to turn out to be a lights out shooter. You heard it here first. Breaking news from Missing the Point.
Oh my God.
Can I give you
No
credit
way.
something for something real quick, DK? Because we haven't
I
brought
love
it up.
credit.
And it was, you said it in the first game of the goddamn season, okay? You bought all this stock on fucking Jeff Teague.
I did.
And you know what? You know what happened? Jeff Teague gets a fucking NBA championship ring. All right.
I mean,
he played 2 minutes. He played 2 minutes and was -5 in game 6.
Listen,
2 minutes and -5. And this guy gets a ring.
Like 2 more points than the 4 of us combined. And Jesus.
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, you're not wrong. I bought low and I sold high on Jeff Teague. You got to wait it out. Don't sell when it dips. Just wait it
It's
out.
like GameStop, bro.
Don't wait it out. Just wait
his
it out.
game stopped a
guys.
long time ago.
Hodl till the end. That'll do it. That was a fucking great show from the basketball crew. I really enjoyed talking NBA with you guys. I really enjoyed talking Celtics with you guys. Insightful as always. You guys are fucking geniuses. For me, DK Sizzle, for our wonderful executive producer, Craig D'Alessandro, for Rayshawn, Buchanan, and Robert Kelly. Good night.
Are you passionate about saving the planet for future generations? Do you want to learn how to do it? If yes, then you need to tune in to the Nature Back podcast. It's a talk show covering the changing world around us, from renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy, to ESG and social innovation. Don't miss this opportunity to discover how you can join the movement and make a difference. Subscribe to the Nature Back podcast today on your favorite platform and get ready to be amazed.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast. Electricast.